everyone, and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly give or take update on the various miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And it's not been that long since the last one. I've been really knuckling down and getting stuff painted. New stuff, and as well as kind of dipping into the pile of grey shame of unpainted miniatures, being like, oh, they've sat there for like 2 years, I should probably paint those. So not as much of that here right now, but the next update is going to have a lot of that, trust me, because I've looked out some old miniatures and started working on them. But for now, we have an eensy-weensy little bit of Star Wars Legion to go over, huge chunk of Batman with some technically DC Universe mixed in, and then finally the newest releases that I just did unboxings for last week for Crisis Protocol. So as always, everything done with contrast, and there's going to be a lot of, like, if I go over each model individually, I'm going to be repeating myself a lot, so let's just say there's been a lot of Black Templar being used this week. On Darth Maul that we're going to take a look at first, on all of Black Mask's thugs, and then a little bit at the end as well. Just a lot of Black Templar. I'm going to need to buy more. So Darth Maul does come with Sith probe droids, which I haven't painted yet, but this is the man himself. So obviously Black Templar. For his face I used Blood Angel's red, same with the lightsaber, although I did go over it with some normal Citadel red as well. And as for like picking out the parts of his face that are supposed to be like part of his tattoos, I guess, or whatever, his face markings, I just kind of guessed, honestly. I don't have the fine detail, steady hand required, but I think I actually kind of lucked out and it turned out not too shabby. And for the light of the lightsaber on it, as it goes out of focus, for the light of the lightsaber on his garb, I used normal Citadel paint on top of the Black Templar as well, just to create that kind of glow on this side here, and then a little bit on, well, a lot on the back, because it's right over his shoulder, so I presumed it would glow a lot. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Don't know when I'll get around to the probe droids, I don't even know if they're useful or not, but as per usual with Star Wars Legion, I am just enjoying painting the characters. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yes, the entirety of the henchmen that came in the Black Mask kind of reinforcements for Organised Crime Batman box. It's the same box that had Fright, Alexandra, and Victor Zsasz that we went over last time. Again, this is just a bunch of like Black Templar, Aggressor shade, and some white paint. So as I show them off, allow me to instead complain once again that I still can't technically use these. My printer's still broken, so I can't print off their cards. The app that you're supposed to use instead of these coming with cards, which they didn't, it's still not on iOS, it's still in beta on Android, and still is not fit for purpose because you can't use it to track HP during a game. You could use it to look up rules, of course, which is handy. But you know what else would be handy? A card with the rules on the back of it. I'm not buying that they're going to be patching the game a ton. I think they just didn't want to print cards anymore because it's been slowing them down and incurring them a cost that they're not content with, let's say. So it's a little bit frustrating. I want to field my Black Mask Organised Crime crew, and as well as all the other new releases. Did do a battle report recently with some miniatures that we'll talk about because they're here as well, that had like Zsasz and Eraser, who I talked about last update, in it, and I literally just had to write out their stats. I wrote them out on a bit of paper so that we could use them, and as a result forgot some stuff, which you'd expect, because you're just using like a handwritten note for keeping track of like endurance, willpower, and maybe a couple of notes about rules. It sucks. It honestly is. It never ceases to amaze me how many ways Night Models finds to self-sabotage their games. They botched the launch of 3rd edition a year and a bit ago now, and they've just re-released the starter set with a lot less in it for cheaper, which I think the price point is definitely better, and they botched that as well. I mean, it comes with the cards there, but it's going to be so confusing for anyone trying to get into this game at this point, and they just keep on shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over to the point where it's baffling. It almost feels like the self-sabotage is on purpose at times, and I don't understand their logic, their gaps in logic. But enough about that. This is the last thug to talk about. I like his pose. I like that it almost looks like he's about to smack himself in the back of the head, but it does also look like he's about to smack someone really, really hard with that sledgehammer. So I put a lot of blood, like he's already done it once and it's splattered up him. Kinda happy with that one, even though on the table I think he's pretty useless. So the next miniature to talk about is Oracle, who is pretty useful on the table. I don't like the miniature, I found it cheap, which is why I picked it up. It was murder trying to put together. One of her screens fell off when I was trying to paint it, so I've just left it off. But this is her sitting at her, like, struggling to get into focus as well. Her workstation at the clock tower, presumably, where she's monitoring everything, doing her Oracle thing. In her wheelchair. It was not a smooth build, especially without instructions. I just kind of guessed, like, there's supposed to be a keyboard out here that this hand is pressing. I think that's what fell off, actually. It wasn't a screen, but it was so flimsy, there was just no way it was going to, like, there's no divot for it to sit in, so it was just, the super glue better hold. Oh, it didn't. Oh well. So I don't like the miniature. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the pose or whatnot, but with the resin it's just not good, and I don't have much to say about the paint job on it either. I don't think I did a good job with that. It's largely lead belcher silver with a wash over the top. Miniature itself is great, does well on the table. I had some great success with this Oracle leading a Birds of Prey list when I played a match digitally. But the model itself as a piece on the table, you know, I wouldn't have paid full price for it, let's put it that way. So this is part of me starting to get through my backlog. I actually have most of Justice League Dark, which is like the members of the Justice League that deal with supernatural, magic, you know, that kind of stuff. And I've had them sitting for ages because I wanted Swamp Thing, which I painted years ago at this point, but I left pretty much the rest of them unpainted. I think I have everyone except Constantine. So this is Zatanna. Sometimes on again, off again, semi-romance of Batman. They just kind of like, they flirt, but they never go further than that as far as I'm aware. She's a magic user, Black Templar, Guilliman Flesh, and Talisar Blue for the glow on the magic she's currently casting. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but on her card for the DC Universe game, all of her attack names are written backwards. I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't really know that much about Zatanna. She's been in a couple of Batman stories I've read, but that's about it really. But yeah, I've finished her, and I'm working on Deadman and Lotus, is that her name? And Etrigan and Jason Blood, but everyone except Constantine, because I never got Constantine, basically. And they've been sitting for so, like, at least 2 years, I think. That's the old resin, or sorry, you know, the old stuff Night Models made their miniatures out of. That's the brittle plastic, it's not the new resin. So the same will be said for the rest of them as well once we move on to those. So next we have the Riddler and Quiz 1, 2 and 3, who have already been in a battle report that's been posted on the channel, but I held these back for this painting video obviously. So there's a lot of Warp Lightning Green used on these guys. I didn't use Shyless Purple though, because it's too dark. I just used Gene Stealer Flesh, which is just a normal Citadel paint, and then a wash over the top. It's Nurgling, oh what's it called? Nurgling something. That really bright green for the question marks on the bases, it's just another Citadel paint. I think it's called Nurgling Green. I don't think it's called a fancy name, like Nurgling Biospurt or something. You know, because that's more copyrightable, which is the only thing Games Workshop cares about these days apparently. So yeah, that is the Riddler. That's the old Riddler, even though he's classed as modern age Riddler. The newest one being the lookalike to Jim Carrey's Riddler. I keep wanting to call him Joker, I guess it's because of all the green. So then his 3 Quizmen, exactly the same colour used for him and the rest. Warp Lightning contrast for the greens, Gene Stealer Flesh for all the purple bits, Agrathur Shade over the top, and the Nurgling Green for the question mark on the base. He's got 2 question mark sickles for some reason. These are very very nerdy looking, embarrassing looking henchmen, just running around in spandex, question mark, whatever they are. And this is Quiz 2, I think. I think I've done them in order. Actually, you know what? I think Quiz 1 might be the one with the guns, which is last, but oh well. And he's got like little, I guess they're like shivs. I don't know, they're very hard to see, but I think they're like question mark shivs, because that's his whole shtick, is the whole question mark thing. And he's got double Uzis and is very tall by comparison to your normal, and the smaller henchman that we just looked at. And again, same colours for him. I think I used Basilicanum Grey for the guns on this one as well. Simple enough. Might track down more Riddler henchmen, because that was the first time Riddler has been seen on the channel. He's very confusing to use, very difficult to use as well, I would say. Definitely an upper difficulty level, but interesting. He just wants to avoid combat, basically. So this is another, like you'll remember if you've seen the battle reports, I used the now Eternal Batgirl miniature, which is based on the Arkham video games, but I used the card for the modern Batgirl, and I mentioned in that, oh, that's because we don't have it for the studio. Well, I decided, why not track it down? And I did. Hopefully that is in focus. I did use Shadow's Purple for her, because I don't like the bright purple on the costume. That is a Yandin Yellow, Gryph-hound Orange, and Black Templar Black as well, with a wash over the top. And I think, yeah, I kind of like her pose a little bit better than the Arkham video game stylized Batgirl. And as I say, that one's been made eternal, whereas this one has not. So if you want to stay nice and legal, not that tournaments are ever really going to be a thing probably, but if you want to stay nice and legal, you don't use eternal models. So that is the Batgirl that's basically your only choice, besides using Oracle, of course. So last but not least, we have the 3 newest releases for Crisis Protocol. We have Omega Red, we have Jean Grey, and we have Cassandra Nova. So let's start with the large Russian man himself, whose ponytail might be the most infuriated I've got with a Crisis Protocol mini for quite some time, because there is no divot for it to fit into either, on the subject of divots, and it just keeps falling off. I will not be surprised if eventually it just falls off and I'll get frustrated with it and just not bother trying to put it back on. They should have put a hole for it. Well, actually, they shouldn't have made it a detached part at all, but come on, focus in. It's the tendrils. I knew it was going to be an issue. There we go, kinda. The tendrils still look blurry to me, but that's okay. Yeah, the ponytail was just... Why not have it attached? Okay, you can't do that maybe because of detail. Then give it a hole to slot into, but they just had like a little groove and it's not good enough. It just kept on falling off. Very frustrating, honestly. No problem with the rest of them though. The rest of them was fine. A little confused about how the tendrils stuck on, but I think I got there in the end. So this is a lot of Blood Angels contrast, a lot of Lead Belcher Silver, and a whole bunch of non-oil. Didn't use Agras or Shade for this. Basilicanum Grey for the base, and a Yandin Yellow for his hair. And his face and like the exposed parts of his arms, his forearms there, that is just Grey Seer base paint with non-oil over the top, since he's a very pale lad. He's also very large, but as I was saying during the unboxing, he's the same size as Mr. Sinister, so there's no reason he should cost £5 more in my opinion, but Asmodee are a little bit confusing with their pricing. So then we have Jean Grey. If you go back far enough in this series, you'll see the Jean Grey miniature from the Marvel Universe miniature game by Night Models, prior to them losing the license. A Yandin Yellow, Vulpus Pink for the psychic energy, which I don't think I did how you're supposed to according to the instructions, but I think I found a better way to anchor her to them than they wanted. So she's not, like this is me tapping her, she barely moves at all. So she's actually quite sturdy with the way I've done it. Talisar Blue for her armour, more Gryph-hound Orange for the orange hair, and I think there was a wash but only on the blue parts. I don't think I did it on the yellow parts because I learned when I did Wasp it brings it down tonally too much. It's a goofy looking costume. I'm not 100% satisfied with the paint job honestly, but that is Jean Grey done, and she'll be in the next battle report, which should hopefully be up. Yeah, it should be this week. Yeah, you should maybe see it on Friday, I think. So Cassandra Nova, you know she's supposed to be standing on like a fire hydrant or of green diarrhea, which I am aware now, as I talked about it to some friends. It's based on an iconic picture of her from the comic book. However, whoever sculpted this didn't realise that arms spread out like this do not look like you're soaring, which is what she was presumably supposed to be doing. She was supposed to be taking off. Arms out like that implies just about to land. So that's what I did. I took away the fountain part and just made it look like she's touching down with a lot of psychic energy. Did a lot of, that's the same Nurgling green we were talking about earlier, on top of Warp Lightning. She's pulsating with her psychic energy. She's touching down and looking imposing. You could also argue she is T-posing to assert dominance, which I'm fine with honestly, because in either situation it still looks better than the default pose, which is still one of the worst they have ever done, because whoever sculpted it didn't understand motion. So even in the comic book page they're referencing incidentally, her hands aren't out like that, they're at her side, because that's what they do. You either have them like Superman style, you know, like out in front of you like that, or you have them at your side, kind of like Iron Man style. But no, you don't do that. That implies landing, not taking off. And they should know better, honestly. So that's the best I could do, just with a very small iteration. You just turn that bit upside down, stick her foot in it instead of the fountain. You can make it look like she's landing instead. Nothing much to say about the colours here. It was the snakebite leather skeletal horde for her like khaki jeans, Black Templar, Yand in yellow, and Gulman flesh as well. I actually like the miniature a lot better now that I've posted it like this, honestly, although obviously I'm very biased. But still, that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted. Feel free to show me what you've been painting at GamerEND on Twitter. And next time, as I say, there's going to be more Justice League Dark. There's going to be more Star Wars Legion. Did I call it Star Trek Legion earlier? I really hope I didn't. That'll get some people annoyed. Star Wars Legion. I don't think there's any Crisis Protocol releases for August. It looks like Blade and Moon Knight have been postponed to September with the new Doctor Strange releases. There'll be more generic Batman release painted miniatures. I'm losing the ability to speak, so let's wrap things up. And maybe a few surprises. I always say that. Sometimes it's true. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Go get your miniatures painted. It's fun, it's relaxing, it's a good time. And I shall see you in up to 2 weeks for the next update. Until then, ta-ta for now.